Hi, this is Walt Mossberg from the Wall Street Journal, and in a year when we're going to see dozens and scores of tablets, this, I think, at least so far, is the one to beat. This is the iPad 2, the second generation of Apple's hugely successful iPad tablet that came out just about a year ago, and I've been testing it for a week, and I think of the tablets I've tested so far, including the original iPad, it is the one I would recommend for average non-techie consumers. Now, the difference between the original iPad and the iPad 2 is primarily that Apple has managed to make it significantly thinner, a little bit lighter, and yet cram in twice the processing power, increased graphics power, and retain its advantage over the competitors that have come out so far in battery life and certainly in the number of third-party applications it can run. The iPad 2 has the same screen as the original iPad, the same screen resolution. It runs the same 350,000 apps that are in Apple's App Store, and especially the 65,000 or so that have been optimized for tablets. That compares, by the way, to Apple's biggest competitor in this space and in the phone space, which is Google's Android, and which has been growing very fast and doing very well, but has 150,000 apps in its App Store, and well under 100 that are tablet optimized so far. They're just getting going on that. Now, in my tests, I found the iPad 2 to be significantly, I would have to say, airier. Making it thinner, making it a little lighter, really made a difference to me in carrying around and holding it. If you put it on a table next to the original iPad, and the Motorola Zoom, which is the kind of leading Android tablet at the moment, it makes the other two look bloated. It also now comes in a white color, which may not seem like a big deal, but it tends to add to the feeling you have of lightness around this thing, even though it still has a large 10-inch screen. It also now comes in a version for Verizon as well as AT&T, and of course you can still buy a plain Wi-Fi version with no cellular carrier involved. And all of this has been done while keeping the price the same as it was for the original iPad. The base entry-level price for this is $499. That's a Wi-Fi only model with 16 gigabytes of memory, and it goes on up to $829 when you add more memory and you add cellular data, but those are the same prices they were last year, and the competitors are having trouble, at least so far, matching particularly that entry-level $499 price. So if those are the positives, what are the drawbacks that I found in my test? Because you always do find drawbacks. First, I would say the cameras. Now, adding a front camera and a rear camera, which Apple has done on this device, was important because all the other new tablets are coming out with those, and use the rear camera for photos or videos, and use the front camera primarily for video chatting. Unfortunately, the cameras on the iPad 2, while they did fine in my tests for video, even HD video on the rear camera, really did a mediocre job with still photos, and Apple actually says they weren't designed as still photo cameras. But the competitors have better cameras, and it's unlike Apple, I think, to put low-quality components into its products, so I found the cameras disappointing. The other issue worth mentioning here is battery life. When you make something thinner and it has a big battery in the side, you have to wonder, can they really hold the battery life? And they're making the same battery claim for this as they did on the original iPad, which is 10 hours. And I did the same test I did when I tested the original iPad last year, and the same test I do for all the other tablets, which is I keep both the cellular and the Wi-Fi radio going, collecting email in the background. I turn the screen about 3/4 of the way up, and then I just play movies end to end until the device dies. And the iPad 2 barely cleared Apple's 10-hour claim in my test. It did 10 hours and 9 minutes. So, yes, it did meet Apple's claim. And that is also 2.5 hours better than the Motorola Zoom. But it's not as good as the original iPad. The original iPad in the same test last year got about 11.5 hours. On the other hand, in doing kind of a mixed pattern of tasks on it, not using it constantly, allowing the screen to go to sleep when it was idle, it easily lasted 2 days. And so while I don't think the battery is quite as strong as on the first iPad, I do think it's quite good. It ran every app I tried quite well, a little faster than the original iPad. The overall performance felt quite snappy. And just in general, I would say that although there are a few other drawbacks, including the fact that it still does not play Adobe Flash Video, which is an Apple policy, in which some people will find a reason to go buy somebody else's tablet, I think overall this is still the best choice for average non-techie consumers until something better comes along, and we'll have to see about that. This is Walt Mossberg, and I'll see you next week.